Okay, hopefully we have streaming. I'm gonna double check a few more things. Let's just see what we've got here. Yeah, looks like we've got a strong stream going on. Perfect. So it looks like we're a little bit behind in terms of the streaming and myself. Looks like we've got a couple people waiting and looking. Got some tunes grooving along to here. I've got a chat box open if anybody feels like chatting away. And yeah, we're just going to be doing this. I've got some background music just playing right now. It's nothing too major, too crazy. Just a little bit of Max Richter. And it's actually interesting. I've got a couple screens going on to watch all this. So hopefully everybody's having a good night, having a good time. We're going to get going into the actual music in probably another minute or so. I see that we've got a couple people already in here. I'm actually using a new mic that you can see down in the bottom there. I'm very excited to use this guy. Hopefully the sound quality is a little bit better than what I've had in the past. So if you want to let me know that you can hear me there in the chat, that will also help me out, kind of gauge where we're at. Just say hi, say hello. We're going to have a good time tonight. So a couple really cool announcements. First up being that I started an Instagram account this afternoon. So if y'all want to follow me on that, just search Notes Review, all one word. I think it's Notes Reviews. And I'll be posting mainly my own records, my record collection, kind of pumping out what I've got there, just as a exciting time for that, as well as just my Twitter, which is, again, Notes Reviews. I tweet pretty regularly. It's never really a picture of me. I always change it around. Very rarely do I have a picture of myself on there. I guess also, just let me know there in the chat that I've got that there's a good balance between my voice as well as the music that I've got. If you want to let me know there in the chat that I've got a good balance going on. I've set myself up in a way that hopefully there's a nice balance. But if my voice is overdrawing the music or vice versa, let me know there in the chat. We're going to get going probably in another minute. I just wanted to take care of some of that housekeeping. Like follow me on Instagram, which I've set up. Follow me on Twitter. I think I have all those in the description. So if you do the whole show more, it's got the Instagram, it's got the Facebook, and it's got the Twitter. Oh yeah, I also have Facebook. So yeah, follow me on there as well. I normally don't pump out that information in my regular videos. I mean, it just kind of annoys me when I'm watching a reviewer or somebody, and then at the end it's just follow me here, follow me there. Like if I want to follow you, I'll follow you. But at the same time, I've only got like a couple of individuals following me on each, so figure, I've got a platform. Let's try that. Oh, dude, I also realized with my red shirt and my blue tie, I've totally got like a Steven Wilson to the Bone motif going on there. Kind of like that. All right, so I'm checking out the chat, and it looks like the balance is good. So let's dive into why we're really here and check out some Moon Safari. As again, we're just listening to the Vidali's Four Seasons recomposed by Max Richter. But I think we want to really hear some Moon Safari, so let's cue that guy up. There we go. So we're going to be listening to their first album today, their Doorway to Summer. It's arguably my favorite album from them. It wishy-washes. It changes from A Doorway to Bloomjud. The two are like neck and neck in terms of which one I like better. So let's just dive into this. I'm diving into Doorway, starting us all off. So I'm going to pause this just to give us a nice little buffer. And we're going to dive right into Doorway. There we are. Okay. So this is the first album from Moon Safari. This is the one that Thomas Bodine helped produce and make available. I don't know exactly what his role behind everything was. I think he and Roland Stolt actually helped out with this album. And their influence is felt, but it's not like a thumbprint. And I love how optimistic and how just joyful these guys are. This guy was released, back in 2005. And 2005 was a very interesting time for progressive rock music at the time, because they were kind of inundated with a lot of depressing music, and it was right before the 2007 zeitgeist switch, where a lot of music went really dark, really depressing, and these guys were one of the few that stayed the course in terms of being very optimistic, presenting music as a celebration. And this really showed that. I mean, just the opening lines there of that guitar work and the harmonizations of the vocals, it's like next to none. So I'm looking there in the chat, and Jan is asking, is this a well-known band? So this is Moon Safari. And in certain circles, it is a very well-known band. They've been off of the main track now for a number of years. They put out Himmelheim back in a number of years ago. It's going on 5 years or something like that. And it was volume 1, so we're waiting for the volume 2. So in certain prog bands or prog spheres, this is a pretty prominent band, a pretty well-known band, but it's not getting a recognition that I feel as though they deserve. Which is a shame. Like, there's a lot of bands that kind of outshadow them, like the Flower Kings, like Spock's Beard, and also a lot of like modern metal prog bands that get overshined by these guys, or I guess vice versa. Like I know Haken, Leprous, and like they are getting a lot of recognition in the prog sphere, but not so much in the not so much these guys. These guys, I find, don't have a lot of that. And it's a shame, because they're just beautiful. I see here that 120 Blue Star is saying, would you recommend Melina from Leprous? You had a problem with the quality from Spotify at the time. Did you listen to the album again with a better sound quality? I did listen to it again. With a better sound quality, it does improve the listening. Nothing bothers me more than a poor audio quality. Like, it can ruin a amazing album. It is much more of a melodic album. And I did listen to it a while back, because I actually had to download it on iTunes in order to get the proper sound quality that I wanted for it. It's still not their best. It might be one of their weaker outputs, but I like the fact that they're stretching their legs and they're trying something different. I did feel as though, as much as I love Congregation, it was very close to Cole. And I like the fact that this allowed them to try something a little bit different. They focused a little bit more on their harmonizations, and I think they'll take what they learned from this and apply it to their next project. And I think that would have made a lot of difference. It's still not my favorite, and I have to be in the right mood to listen to it. But there's a lot of albums that do this for me as well, like Opeth's Damnation. Even to go outside of the progressive rock sphere into pop music, Coldplay's Ghost album does this as well, where it's very subdued, and there's only like 1 or 2 tracks that are very pumping. And so I have a feeling I'll revisit this and really enjoy it when I'm in that mood for it. I just haven't really found myself in that mood yet. And J-Man is saying that it's a Semi Gilmore guitar tone, and I would agree to that. It definitely has that. Yeah. But, thanks for the comment. Please keep them going, because I love talking about that. Otherwise, I'm just going to be commenting on the music of Moon Safari. Again, if you guys haven't heard this, I'm going to talk about the music that we're listening to right now for a second. It's very subdued here, but it's very hopeful. Like, I can just picture this being like a grassy meadow on a very sunny summer day, which is exactly the mood that the boys are going for here. Like, it is like you're sitting back on that grassy field, looking up at the stars or at the clouds, just watching them roll by. And yeah, the keyboard line is just awesome. Now, I'm loving how they're building the atmosphere for this particular piece as we're coming up into the crescendo that's coming up in a couple minutes. And this guitar line, it's just so intimate and so pure. Like, there's no added effects. It's very, very clean. And I love the fact that they really give this space. Like, they could have cut it off, but they decided to see where it went. And here we have the little bit of a... Here we go. Just a little bit of extra padding with that keyboards. And I also love the mixing quality on here as well, because I can still hear that acoustic guitar clear as day. And it's not lost within the sound we have here. You know, you can clearly hear the guitar work, both acoustic and electric. Bringing the song down. I love this little bit of a journey, right? You're just watching the clouds go by. He knows when to put those little bit of inflections, those little bit of sparkles, just a little bit of spice. And that nice little bow. I like that nice little bow that we have there. A little bit of an off key. And these guys can harmonize. Like, we've really lost that vocalizing harmonization. Like, everybody in the band here, I believe, is singing at this time. Like, that's Beach Boys inspired, that's Beatles inspired. We haven't heard great harmonizations like this since then. You know, it's funny. Well, I'll get into this in just a bit. I want to get into right here. Now, this is a very Thomas Bodine line right here. I love, there's like just that little background. There's a guy, if you listen, I believe it's Martin Luther King. It might be. It sounds like him. Because he says, "I have a dream." And this brings back that main introduction that we had. Here we go, here we go, here we go. Oh, thank you. Is it Gerald? Gerard Guidance, saying that he's turned me on so much new music. Here's my chance to thank you. Oh, well, thank you. I mean, that really gets me right there. Thanks, man. Glad I'm able to turn you guys on to some good music. And hopefully this is helping out. Oh, here we go. So pay attention. Now, this particular line will be revisited much later on in the album. But I love how they lay the foundation for it right here. And they still build upon it. Like, they don't let it go to waste here. They let it build. Here we go. Now, I will note, like, preface that they're not quite giving it their all yet, but they're still not letting it go to waste. And I love that balance. Because they're using the space to its full, but they haven't quite brought it to the next level, which will be revisited later on in the album. But I just love that little bit of a balance. And yeah, somebody's saying that Bloomjed has some amazing harmonies too. I fully agree. There are some beautiful harmonizations there. Yeah, 120 Blue Star is saying that the first half of Melinda, this is going back to the conversation we had with Leprous, is pretty strong with the Front of the Flame and such, but after that it was kind of disappointing for the rest. But I must admit that I listened to Melinda just 2 times. Yeah, I love listening to an album a few times, putting it on the shelf, and then revisiting it later on and seeing how it's matured. Sometimes it's for the better. Sometimes that first impression is the one that sticks. But yeah, the second track on there, it always bugged me that every streaming system cuts it short. And it's really the end of that track that really blows it out of the park. So I guess this next song is really the single from this album, which is ironic seeing as it's, 7 minutes. But it is the second shortest track off of the album. That was all one track. And here is like that single. This is Dance Across the Ocean. And this song is just gushing with brilliance and fun and just a great time all around. I love that groove that we have. Okay, that's enough of me dancing. I'm also gonna make sure that people know that they can watch me now. Let's see what we've got here. I love that little bit. All right. Just adding a little bit of fun here. Bring it down. Progressive Beach Boys. That is a perfect way to describe these guys. Yeah, thanks, JM. Oh, I love how clean that piano is. And there's those harmonizations again. Move that a little bit. There we go.
Everybody wants to rock the boat, but when it rains, so you give away your gold. If you dance across the ocean, you would see a man.
I love that. Is that great? Oh, I see one of my really great buddies, Brian's Man Cave, is here. If you guys haven't already followed Brian's Man Cave, definitely do so. He focuses mainly on like retro gaming and the 80s. He's a great guy, hilarious. So definitely, this is a big shout out to Brian. So thanks for coming out and joining us. Hopefully I'll get you on my channel someday. I'm still thinking about a good album that we can listen to. So go follow Brian's Man Cave because he's hilarious, and if that's your thing, you're definitely going to enjoy it. Oh, J-Man says that he recognizes this from The Entertainer from Billy Joel. I can feel that. I can feel that. See, I love the organ sound. I'm going to turn it up just a little bit. The organ sound here reminds me of like Going for the One from Yes. Like it has that same kind of an inflection, especially when paired with the Mellotron. Like, it's straight out of it. Like, I can very vividly feel it. Okay, we're getting into the jam session here. This is great. Oh, yes. Brian's Man Cave is saying that we're going to do something metal. Agreed. It's going to be a little bit different than this, but it's going to be a good time. So they're setting this up, right? They're going to set it up for just a great little play out. Bringing it down. Got to build it up from somewhere. Getting a little bit bigger, Right? We're adding a little bit of padding with the keyboards and the piano. Got a little bit more of the drumming. Now that I think about it, there's not a whole lot of synthesized noise right now. Right? We've got the acoustic guitar, got the drums, and it's like a classical piano. Now we're getting a little bit of the guitar work, like electric guitar. Here we go. It's building up. 3, 4. I love that build and payoff. So good. And now we've switched. You know, now it's all electric, right? We've got the electric keyboards with a little bit of electric padding. Yeah. And then they bring it back down. So we're in a little bit of a lull, like lull in terms of like the sound. They're taking their time. They're chilling after that to allow us to think and reflect on what we've just heard. It's a great technique. So how's everybody doing out there? I see that we've got a couple people in here. So let me know there in the chat. This is also your chance to interact with myself, so if you have any pressing questions or anything you want to know about me, let me know. And I'll get to them. I know that we've got a little bit of a delay going on, so give me like a couple of seconds before the questions come in. But I do see, again, 120 Blue Star is asking, what do they think of David Bowie's music? What do you think of the instrumental songs on the album LOW and Heroes, if I've ever listened to them? I love David Bowie. I'm not as familiar with his music as I would like to be. I've only really listened to his debut album and Ziggy Stardust. The rest I just haven't had a chance to listen to, and I love Ziggy Stardust, and I really love what he did within the music community. I'm enjoying the music right now as well. Like, this moment is just, it's that song coming up. But yeah, I love what he did for the music community, and I loved that the community encouraged him to try different things and to constantly reinvent himself, which gave us such beautiful music. But yeah, unfortunately, I'm just not as familiar with his discography as I am with other stuff. But thank you very much for the question and asking about that. Okay, so now we're into the third song, Son of Your Own, and this is probably the most subdued song off of the album. And I love how it really takes its time and really builds. So the J-Man is asking, build and payoff is my favorite type of song. Starway to Heaven, No Quarter, Echoes, Dancing with the Moonlight Night, SOYCD. I'm trying to think of what that acronym stands for. I can't remember what that acronym stands for. I'm sorry. But yeah, it's my favorite. My favorite type of music is that build up and payoff. And I love when a song just continuously builds. Like, I'm going to add on to that list for some of my own favorite ones. Crime of the Century from Supertramp. We've got Starship Trooper from Yes. The Waiting Room from Genesis. Dancing with the Moonlight Night, obviously there. So yeah, just. Bruno has asked, and thanks for coming out, Bruno. I've seen you a number of times within Twitter as well as within my own videos, so thanks for coming out. What do you think about The Shaming of the True by Kevin Gilbert? Should we expect a review? Ooh, that's a really good point. I love Shaming of the True. I love Kevin Gilbert's music. My favorite track actually from him is his cover of Back in New York City from Genesis. Just a great interpretation of that song. I really, really enjoy Taming of the Shrew. The problem for me, though, is that I heard Snow from Spock's Beard first, and Spock's Beard practically plagiarized Shaming of the True from Kevin, which is a little bit of a shame, because it's so beautiful, and at the time I'm like, this is such a groundbreaking album, not realizing that the groundbreaking had already happened with Kevin. Yeah, you can expect a review. Maybe not right away, but it will come. Oh yes, SOYCD, Shine On You Crazy Diamond. Blah, I should have put that together. But agreed, fully agreed. I love the buildup of that. Uh-oh. What's going on? Why did it stop? Oh, shoot. Okay. It wants to play Take Shelter. Give me a second, guys. That's sometimes this happens. Let's try on this browser. Let's try that again. That was not fun. Okay, I'm going to back it up. There we go. Sorry about that. I was on my phone for just a second checking. And there we go. Sorry about that. Had a little bit of a kerfuffle there. Okay, we're back. We're back. Okay, I'm back. Taking care of a little bit of emergency, but I'm back. I love. I mean, this song does have a certain level of cheese, and you're just like, really? You're gonna be this? But no, it's just, I love that harmonization, really. It's just so... So getting back to what I was going to talk about before, again, I'm going to try to pronounce your name, but as you guys probably know, I'm terrible with name pronunciation. Morgan, Chichia Morgan. Anyway, it feels like this song is watching Calmly at the Stars. I would agree. The first couple of tracks are Watching the Clouds Go By. This one is definitely the late evening, right? The sun is setting, the stars are coming out, and J-Man is saying that the harmonization is a lost art form, and I agree. I don't know who it was. I want to say it was Michael Eckelfart from Opeth, was trying to get a band together that focused very heavily on the harmonizations where everybody would be singing. And I applauded and fully supported that idea because the harmonizations have been lost. like those harmonizations. And I love the fact that they're using stereo here as well. Like we've got the one vocal coming from that side, the other vocal coming from that side. And they're adding, like they're using the vocals as a musical instrument as opposed to just a conveyor of the lyrics. And it's so needed. Like the human voice is an instrument. Use it. Yes. Yes. Thanks. Yeah. Yeah, I can't pronounce names, but thank you. And Bruno is saying, thanks for presenting Moon Safari on the Retro Prog video. It's, I mean, I did a video way back when I first started about how Moon Safari, in my mind, is the most important prog band of this decade, or I guess last decade or this decade. And I still stand by that. Like they produce such optimistic and pleasant sounds, and I wish more bands did that, because it's a style of prog that we haven't had since the 70s to the full extent. Like I can only really name maybe 4 or 5 bands of the recent tinge that utilize a celebration and an optimistic presentation of music. But we don't, like, they're not in the forefront. They're not in the mind's eye. And as much as I love bands like Haken, as Leprous, as, I mean, those are the 2 big ones that always come to mind. Like, even Pain of Salvation and Porcupine Tree, Dream Theater and Opeth. Like, I love those guys. Love them. But they don't present a very optimistic and happy atmosphere. Like, maybe Dream Theater has that from time to time, but nothing like this. Nothing like this. Yeah, and Blue Star is saying that it's so fresh and new, even though this was recorded like 13 years ago. This came out in 2005, and yet it still feels fresh and new. And I mean, the build is so subtle within the song, and the music now is just so grand. We don't notice how grand it is until we look back and find out where we've come. I mentioned a little bit of this when I was reviewing The Gathering Light earlier this week within the title track from Karnataka. And it's true, like the sound here is so symphonic and so large, but it started off so small, and they gradually build to this area that we don't realize it because they've taken their time and masterfully placed everything. Now the J-Man is saying that exactly the problem I have with modern prog is everything is being so complex and not having songs that are easy to sing with and having fun with their melodies. I fully agree, J-Man. Like, I believe a lot of... Now, don't get me wrong, I love the complexities. Like, I love Animals as Leaders, I love Tesseract, I love all those, like, really complex and kind of songs, but I feel like we've missed the boat in just the simplistic side of things. Like, that simple, fun, harmonizing things. Okay, so we're coming into the big Grande Resistance moment of We Spin the World. This is a 24-minute epic, almost 25 minutes, 24 minutes and 52 seconds. I'm going to be gushing about this song. I'm not going to lie. I'm going to be gushing a lot throughout this, so get ready for that. But again, it just starts off so subtle. It just starts off with just that simple piano. And it opens up so sweetly and so nicely. It's like, so that was like the evening, and now we're coming into like the night with the stars, and we're going to get the full plate of the day. Okay, so we've got a couple of comments here. Listening in from snowy Sussex in England. Question, why the anonymity notes? Watching your vlogs a couple of years and yet to pick up whether you play an instrument. I'm going to get to that in just a second. I'm just going to read J-Man's. Not to hate on modern prog, but I love life out of Opeth wearing an Opeth t-shirt. Great job. Again, love Opeth. I'm actually preparing for a worst to best of Opeth right now, and It is hard. I didn't realize how hard a worst to best for Opeth would have been, but they're all so good. I can't rank them. They're all good albums. So yeah, expect that. That's going to be fun. Going into OA23 with Why the Anonymity. Watching your videos for a couple of years and yet to pick up on whether you play an instrument. I'm going to be doing because I got a lot of that question while I was doing the census, and because I got that question over and over again, I'm actually going to do a full-on video about that in the future. Anonymity, I don't know, I feel like my life is kind of open. The thing is, I want to keep a good arm's length between my personal life and my YouTube life. But I mean, if you follow me on Twitter, and I guess now that I have Instagram and YouTube, that's starting to bleed through a little bit, especially within my Twitter. I don't have a picture of myself on Twitter because, I mean, I'm channeling my inner like 13 to 15-year-old, where I have like just the pictures that I want to emulate being. So that's going in there. I mean, if you watch my video of like my channel trailer that I created earlier last year, I have my name in there, but I don't know, I kind of like having like a little bit of a personality front, but I mean, more of these live streams, you'll get more of a connection, and more of that kind of stuff. And Ding Dong is saying nice tie. Thank you. As I mentioned at the beginning, I didn't realize this until I actually saw myself on here, but I'm totally like capturing the to the bone kind of aspect, and I didn't even realize this. So I've got like the red shirt and a blue tie, and I was just watching that. I'm like, oh yeah, it looks like the album from To the Bone from Steven Wilson. So up to this point of the track, it's just been kind of a prelude, and we're only about 3 minutes in, but it's all prelude into where we're going to go in a little bit. But I love that they really take their time and really let this build. You know, it allows us to get into the music a little bit more. So now we're getting into the crust. So that was all the overture. Now we're into the first movement, shall we say. Now here's how you know they're foreign. I love that. I guess because J in certain dialects and accents are pronounced like a Y. I don't know if he's actually supposed to say making yokes to the crowd or if it's making jokes to the crowd. But anyway, whenever I hear that, I'm just like, I like it. I like it a lot. Reminds me of Nursery Crime in a minor. Oh, I didn't. Nursery Crime in major. I didn't actually put that together, but yeah, it feels that way, doesn't it? I think it's because there's like a harmonization within the guitars, like an overlay of guitar works, and I know that Genesis did that a lot within Nursery Crimes, as well as within Foxtrot. Another, type of form that we don't see a whole lot of is the harmonization. Oh, now we got into that little bit of a groove. Yeah. To the grave. Like, I love how it's so fun, so bouncy. Yeah. Oh geez, looks like we've got a troll in there. Listening party for Love Beach win. P.S. Love Beach is their best album. That's not gonna happen. Not gonna happen. Not gonna happen. Nice try. Nice try. Yes. Somebody was saying that the beginning of the song made me think so much of the way she moves from the Beatles. Yeah, I mean, you can hear the Beatles and Beach Boys influence here. And there's those harmonizations again, right? Ding Dong, yeah, this is a brilliant, brilliant album. And just wait until this track gets a little bit further on. This is all just kind of like build up and getting ready for it. I love that. I love that. Somebody's saying, how many hours a day can I find? Okay, I need to read this. How many hours a day can you find in a day to indulge your love of all this great music without the rest of your life suffering? Keeping up with all the news releases I find takes most of my time. So I've got a couple things in my advantage for this. I've got a pretty long commute between my home and where I work. So that takes up about, in total, probably about 2 hours, all in total. So that allows me to really just zone out and get into a music. And that's like dedicated music time for me. The other thing that I have in my advantage is at my current job, I'm able to listen to music all day long because it's mainly, a good portion of it is administrative work. So it's just zoning out, answering emails, doing coding, setting up different things. So it allows me to really listen to my music almost unobstructive. Like I've got a couple things that I have to keep my ear out for, and a number of times my coworkers actually have to like come over and almost forcibly shake me awake. But that gives me a number of hours where I can just get into an album and really dive into it. So I've got those two things going for me where I can set aside and just really get into it. Also, can we just take a minute to appreciate this particular jam session that we've got going on? Like, even though we've had some pretty simplistic things going on, we've got some really complex time signatures going on here. 1, 2. I mean, it's still a 4/4 beat, but just the way that they use it. Anyway, so that's what I kind of have. And then every night before I go to bed, I take about an hour or two just to, again, really dive in and close my eyes, turn off everything, and just listen to the music. And so I kind of have to make it a little bit of a priority, especially when I'm discovering new music. Within the past couple of months, I've toned back a little bit of trying to find new music and just rediscovered and got into those musics that I've really enjoyed. So that's what I'm doing here. J-Man is saying, never heard your opinion on Led Zeppelin. Oh, why did the music stop? Oh, I guess it was just a little bit of a blip. Never heard your opinions about Led Zeppelin. How do you get the Lead Man out? I love Led Zeppelin. It was one of my great passions and discoveries when I was in high school. I dove in and devoured it. My favorite album from them is Houses of the Holy. I love all those tracks, opening up with The Song Remains the Same, going straight into the Rain song. It's beauty. And second side, having no quarter, so good. I actually put on Zeppelin 3 over the weekend just because I friggin' love Since I've Been Loving You. I love the bluesy atmosphere about that. Yeah, I love Led Zeppelin. I'm getting more, or rediscovering a lot of that 70s era rock. So yeah, I love it. And every once in a while I'll put on a Zeppelin album. Not gonna lie, I kind of like Duke and Invisible Touch by Genesis. Ding Dong. Dude, I'm with you. I thoroughly enjoyed Duke. As I mentioned in my Genesis Worst to Best, I love the Duke Suite. I think it's a full-on masterpiece in every sense of the word. I thoroughly wish that they kept it as one track instead of splitting it up throughout the album. And even some of the catchier songs on there, like Misunderstanding and Turn It On Again. Brilliant, brilliant work. Invisible Touch, same up there. Not quite the same masterpiece. There's some songs on there that I don't connect with. But a lot of the tracks on there, like Land of Confusion, Invisible Touch itself, I love some of the longer tracks on there. But that end track of the Brazilian, I freaking love that song. Okay, so here we come back into the song, talking about the song. We've got a little bit of this, and we're going to see a little bit of an off key once we transition. And I love how they do that because it prepares us for the next round of music, because it kind of like wakes up stuff like, wait a minute, that's off just a hair. Here it is. Like, it's just a hair off, but it works. I gotta love it. It works so well. And I love the guitar work here. Like, it's very much a what is it? It's from the Beatles. One of the Beatles tracks. Oh, Darling, I think it is, from Abbey Road. Oh, darling, wow. Right? It's got that. It's going to bug me because I don't think Oh, Darling is the actual term, like, song for it, but still. But we have that harmonizations, right? Just, So, full disclosure, a little bit of a preface of why I'm listening to this. These guys I listen to a lot when I get down and out. And I discovered these guys in my master's degree and when I was taking my master's. And at that point, it was one of the lowest I've ever been. And these guys really helped pull me out of that. And, you know, it just reminds me of, and not necessarily like what to be thankful for, but it just reminds me of, you know, there can still be celebration. There can still be that light in the darkness. And these guys definitely were. And so when I listen to it, it brings me back to that moment of knowing there's better to come, because there was. And I mean, just that coming in from the cold, right? Oh, man. So it just kind of like brings me right back, because it was kind of like the best of times and the worst of times at the same time. Just so great. OA23, do I enjoy live music and follow any particular bands? I love live music. It broke the bank last year because I went to so many live performances. There's a lot of local talent that I try to support by going to their live performances. Being in Toronto, we've got a great prog community. I think it needs some growth. It's definitely not like Montreal. But I follow a lot of local bands. Protest the Hero being a local band, and very chaotic metal. If you haven't checked those guys out and you like that like chaotic tech metal, check out Protest the Hero. But some of the smaller bands, what are they called? Juice, but they kind of disbanded and kind of broke up. I really like them. The Acromatics, kind of a Sultan Latino big brass band. Great, doing great work. You guys should check them out. They have one track that's really powerful that I really, really enjoy. Oh shoot! Every time I get the name, it leaves. It starts. It's like it's intentions, the inflections, something along those lines. It's gonna bug me. Shoot, every time the word comes, it leaves my mind. It's like they don't want me to call it out. It's going to bug me. Anyway, that's going to bug me. Because they're great and I want to give them a shout out, but I can't, for the life of me, I just can't remember the guys' names. Okay, I need to look this up now. Every time, I swear, every time I've got it, there we go. The Implications. Check those guys out. They're really, really great. They sound a lot like the 40s and 50s rock. Great Canadian band. Check out their earlier stuff. They're a lot of fun. That was bugging me. I had to get it. J-Man is saying that I need to check out High Tide if I've never have. Check out their first album release in 1969. The heaviest song in the universe at the time. I will. I'm going to make a note of that. High Tide. Their first album released. Okay. Even heavier than King Crimson, eh? Okay. And I think Black Sabbath put out their first album in that year. Interesting. I'll have a look at that. Favorite stream I've done. Woo! Thank you. Thank you from Ethan saying this is my favorite stream. Never heard this band. Yeah, I want to do more bands that I feel need more recognition. Moon Safari, I'm going to say this over and over again. Most important band of this century so far. Okay, here we go. Listen to this. They're just laying the foundation and getting us used to this theme because it's going to come back even more powerful. And it shows how powerful this theme is because of how moving it is when it's very subdued. Right? You know a great song when it's being played with just an acoustic set and it still sounds wonderful. And this is that case. And I love the fact that they started off in this. All right, Blue Blister, or sorry, I keep wanting to say Blue Blister. Blah. Blue Star. Have I ever heard the band Jade Warrior? I haven't. Oh, Ethan, sorry, this is the first stream. Sorry about that. Well, I'm glad you can join us. Thank you for coming out. We've got like a small group. Looks like we're just at 14, but no, thanks for coming out. So Indian guy wants to know my overall impression of the Canterbury scene. Haven't mentioned it a lot on my channel. I'm just not familiar with it. I know it's a genre of prog that I need to get into. I'm just not familiar with it. I don't really know of a starting point for it. And I've just not really been exposed to it. So if anybody has any Canterbury scene starting points or recommendations, leave them down in the comments. Unwanted and popular opinion, I don't really consider Sabbath's first album that heavy. Sure, it's dark, but it's more just hard blues. That's fair. That's fair. I mean, at that point in the musical scene, there really wasn't a heavy atmosphere. So I guess they were kind of finding themselves, right? Like, at that point, it wasn't even hard rock. It was more like acid rock. So, no, that's a fair point. Bringing the song down. You got to bring that song down. I'm going to surprise you guys. OA23 is saying, surely I've listened to Carnival or Caravan. Nope, haven't heard them. I guess the closest I've come to is Griffin. But I guess Griffin is more of a symphonic prog or a folk prog than a Canterbury. So yeah, I know, shocking, but I've never heard it. Check out Third by Soft Machine and The Land of Grey by Pink by Canterbury. Okay. Yeah, I'll definitely check those out. Soft Machine, I've heard a couple of albums from them, but like maybe one or two spins. I haven't really had a chance to really dive into it. But now I'll take my time and try to get it. If you haven't noticed, there's a lot of music out there. So I try to cover as much as I can. But even I have a limited time to really get into it. Jade Warrior are a British progressive rock band. I can find them on Spotify. Oh, great. I've heard the name Jade Warrior. I haven't got into them, but I've heard of them. Okay, so now how far are we in the track? Yeah, we're at the 20-minute mark exactly. And just where we've been it's just a journey. And so now I feel like the sun is slowly starting to rise at this point. You know, we've gone through the night, and now we're coming into the morning, and we're getting the sunrise here.
You said you were one of a kind, but I did not think you looked like much.
I love how intimate it is at this point, right? Like, there's no echoes on the vocals. There's no harmonization. It's just the one vocalist.
The time has a funny way of telling you the truth at the very end.
I love that line.
And now I see that you are me, a child with a grown-up's eye.
Not as much of a fan of that line, but I like how that, time will always point the truth at the very end. No, I like that. Let's see here. Some is saying if I want some deep Swiss prog, I always do. The Island Pictures by Island. All right. Gerard is saying hopefully this will be a regular thing. I hope so too. Now that my schedule is starting to level out, I hope to do this pretty much like every Tuesday. I know I was for a little bit there. I think I only had like 4 or 5 of these live streams, but I really enjoy doing it. And I love hanging out with you guys. Okay. So here we come back into the main theme that I was talking about before. That subdued. Now we're getting it again in a little bit of a higher and fuller sound. Here we go. Like it almost reminds me of the opening from The Lion King. We spin the world around. I'm just going to enjoy this. We're taking another step into making it grander. Here we go. We're going to go up the octave and really hit it home, guys. I'm going to turn this up. I love how each time it gets bigger. And you think, how can it get bigger than this? And then it does, and you're like, And it's interesting because each time they're also playing less. It sounds bigger, but the actual notes that they're playing is less. It's like they're getting into the exact essence of the song. The exact, concentrated essence. And then we have the sun breaking through. Just a gentle play out. So OA23 is saying that this is fascinating. Admire the knowledge and enthusiasm for prog, but now feel sorry that they have missed out, or that I have missed out on so much great music. But then they are twice the age that I am. I do have time in my favor, I guess, in that sense, and I have some time to catch up. Maybe 2018 will be the Canterbury year for me, where I dive into it. I'm going to turn that down a little bit now. So yeah, hopefully I'll enjoy it as much as you make it out to see. All right, so that was We Spin the World. And man, that is like 24 minutes and 52 seconds of just pure joy. And they could have ended it there, and it would have just been brilliant and fantastic. But then they still have Beyond the Door, right? So we started off with Doorway, Dance Across the Ocean, Son of Your Own, We Spin the World, and now finally we're ending it on with Beyond the Door. And it's needed. At first I thought, they could have ended it with We Spin the World, but I feel like we really needed Beyond the Door to kind of look out to find out what's next, right? Like we've had the end with We Spin the World, but then we're looking off to, hey, what's over there? What's next? And much like we had before, it starts off with just a lonely piano, right? Kind of like this is the end, this is all we've got, but you know what? There really is no end. I agree. I kind of want to make this like a regular Tuesday night thing, where it's just a group of music fans talking about music. So if you're in for it, I'm in for it. Make it a weekly Tuesday hangout. Yeah, Third by Soft Machine is definitely an album you have to let grow on you. It was actually very ahead of its time. Same by Ethan Work. I'll definitely check it out then. So we're going to see a lot of reprisals within this song from the first song of Doorway, which makes a lot of sense, seeing as this is Beyond the Door. And I love that they reprise a lot of themes in this song and make it fuller, like they flush it out. Remember how I was talking about within Doorway, how they haven't really completely used the space? Here is their chance to really use the space. And again, those harmonizations. Oh yeah, France, it's 2 in the morning. Yeah, I realize that a lot of my audience might be isolated if I do this at like 7 o'clock because it's like ridiculously either early or late, which kind of isolates a lot of my prog fans. I'm sorry guys, I live in Toronto, I have a whole full-time job. Yeah. Do you know, this one's from, ooh, a new face. Hello. Ellie, is it Ellie? Again, terrible with names. Do I know / like prog black metal bands like Enslave or Cormorant? I really like Cormorant. I listened to their latest album that they put out, really enjoyed and dug their groove. It reminded me of a very early Opeth, like the Orchid and Morning Rise album. Really liked what they were doing. I could say I'm a fan. It's not my favorite type of musical expression, but I do like a good black album. I'm getting a little bit more into doom metal as well, just with the atmospheres and all that. But yeah, like Cormorant is probably the only one that I'm very familiar with. I know that there's a whole bunch that I've also reviewed and really enjoyed. Nothing's coming to mind right now, but yeah, no, really like them. Ding Dong is saying that I just realized I have an Instagram. Yeah, I just actually set that up this afternoon. So as I said at the beginning of this, follow those. I've left my Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter down there. My Twitter's a lot of fun. I update that pretty regularly. It's just like my random thoughts. Yeah. So yeah, go and follow that. The Instagram is going to be mainly for like albums that I have and showcasing my album collection. And big thumbs up for the Newington, Connecticut. Oh, you're from Connecticut. Right on. Thanks. Okay, here we go. This is the rejuvenizing that main theme that we had from that first song. I'm going to get to that question in just a moment. I just want to really take in this because this is that theme that we had in that first song. But now it's to the next level. Here we go. Ah. Love that. The only thing is, after this, we just get one note on the guitar, and I'm not a big fan of it. Here it is. So they build this up, and then finally we get to this. I'm not sure they used that to its fullest. But anyway, still fantastic. Still fantastic. Okay, so OA23 says, are you like me, finding so much more pleasure in bands and albums that you discovered yourself, and then those encouraged to listen to? I'm going to unpack that for a second. So much more pleasure in bands and albums that you discovered than those encouraged. I'm not sure. Like, I love when a band is recommended to me from somebody and I really attach to it, because then like I remember and think about that person as I'm listening to it. And it kind of reminds me of the relationship that we have for them. Unfortunately, I don't have a whole lot of friends that listen to the same kind of music that I do, which is why I set up the YouTube page from the beginning and from the start. And then here's just a nice play out. And that's the end. That's all there is. It's a perfect ending to a fantastic album. I've just got a couple of other comments here, and I'm just going to finish my thought on those bands that I discover versus those that are encouraged to listen to. The one thing that I noticed about those albums that I'm encouraged to listen to is a lot of the times they come with a preconceived notion, and people are wondering about what I think about it. And I always worry that my feeling of the album doesn't live up to their expectations of it. So I always kind of approach it with a grain of salt. I don't want to give out any examples, but that always kind of happens where I listen to a band and I get into it and I'm like, okay, well, it was good. I'm not a big fan of it. Maybe it's just because the album that I listen to isn't quite as good as some of their other stuff is. I don't know. Anyway, I'm just going to put on some background music here while I'm talking away, because I'm just going to talk for another couple of minutes before I say goodnight and say goodbye. So I'm going to put back Max, some Max Richter. There we go. I'm going to listen to his recomposed Four Seasons from Vidali. I'm just going to skip a couple songs so that we get into it. There we go. Whereas I also love diving in and finding out where just some real gems are. And these aren't necessarily like recommendations from people. This is just like me scouring the internet, finding what's good and what's not. And this allows me to kind of like shuffle through a lot of stuff too. Like I don't feel committed to those kind of discoveries. So I can quickly listen to a song and be like, okay, that's not really for me, and then move on. Whereas when I'm recommended an album, I feel like I have to listen to the whole thing. So if I don't attach myself directly to it right off the get-go, I don't know. I feel like I'm kind of rambling on as well. And I'm glad that people are here for the full stream. Thank you, guys. Best ending for an album is Starless on Red. Ooh, that's actually a good question. What would be the best ending for an album? I'll have to think on that. Starless is definitely up there. Like, oh man, it is up there. What were you saying about getting into doom metal? I didn't catch that. Yeah, so last year I was getting a little bit more into doom metal. I discovered Bell Witch and fell in love with them. So I'm kind of breaching out a little bit more and trying to find a little bit more on doom metal. I'm not quite sure if Sun O would be qualified in that. Some people would lump Sun O into that category as well. And I mean, I've heard about Sun O for quite a while. So now getting into it is kind of a fun discovery. Okay, and I think that's going to be about it. I'm going to wrap this up. Thank you, everybody, for coming out and enjoying this with me. I hope to do more of this going forward. And I think now that things have finally settled down after the New Year's, not sure how many people are paying really close attention, but it was a little bit of a difficult time for me. Now that I'm kind of out of that, I can do a little bit more things like this. Get some more videos and reviews out as well, which is really great. So yeah, I've got a couple more questions that I'm going to answer and then kind of hang up on this. So if I'm getting into doom metal, I should check out, is that Candlemass? I will. Like I said, I'm trying to get into more of them, so Candlemass. What about post-rock? Now, I love post-rock. Are you talking like Mogwai and Explosions in the Sky and like Sugar Ross and like Godspeed, You Black Emperor? I mean, Godspeed's album from last year, The Luciferian Towers, was my second favorite album of the year. And yeah, I just love that. Okay, Carnations. Okay, yeah. So, thank you, everybody, for coming out tonight. I'm going to hang it up there. Thank you for the great discussions. Again, hopefully I'll do more of this in the future. Thanks, everybody, for coming out, and I hope everybody has a fantastic evening. This is Notes signing off.